Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. Yes, and I'm recording on a Friday again. Bad habits, isn't it? But need to catch up with my podcast episodes. So, little story because I talked about last week about the story of a cat. Let's talk about the story of a MacGyver. A kid that, and that's my dog, one of my dogs, that really anything stops him. Seriously, the kid is fearless. He has no issues. He's just enjoying life. He is just having a little too much fun, actually, I would say it. When it comes down to life and when it comes down to everything. Because this morning, we were coming back from the walk. We were almost there. And he spotted, I believe, rabbits. And he went into the woods, and Maka followed him too. So both of them went. They took off, and Daddy is with me on the lead, so that's not an issue with her because she's not going anywhere without me. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. A few minutes pass, and Lulu showed up, and I'm like, okay, so we're good. Lulu is back. No Mac. Lulu was covered with a sticky plant. There is a plant that has little balls that stick to your clothes and to basically his skin, his hair. If you put it in your hair, it's extremely difficult to remove it. He was covered head from nose to the tip of his tail. Seriously, totally covered. So brought them back, and I'm like, okay, I need to find where Mac is because he wasn't responding. And Mac came back running, all happy, skippy, with a big smile on his face as usual, like, hey, I had some fun. I had to run and chase something. Funny part is, Mike came back, he wasn't covered of anything because he was wise enough to figure it out where to go. That kid is very good. Lulu, which that's why I call him Lulu MacGyver. This is his full name. MacGyver, because this kid is fearless. He doesn't give a crap if he had to go through buckthorns. He will go in there, get what he needs, and get it out. He is fearless. Now, if we take this story and we're looking at our lives and looking at how fearless are we on moving forward in our lives when we are faced with challenges and we can be slapped left and right, all coming in one day, you feel like you've been put into the rinse of a washing machine, basically the rinse cycle. You have to ask yourself, how fearless I am to move forward, how fearless I am to be able to stand my ground and really set my boundaries. Because one of the biggest issues I've seen lately is people who are disrespectful of everyone's boundaries, not listening, thinking they're funny, thinking they know better, thinking that I'm gonna go and literally run over your boundaries because I don't care. A lot of people do not like when others are telling them no. That's another thing too. You could describe as somebody that is not willing to participate into things that doesn't help us. Or you're seeing a train wreck on projects. I've seen that in the past and in your life. You can see the train wreck coming and you're like, no, thank you. I'm not going to hop on it and just be part of the chaos. That is an issue as well. People don't understand when no means no. It's not maybe. It's not, I'm not sure. No. No is no. It's not a baby. It's not a yes in disguise. It's a no. I remember a few decades ago when I was consulting. It was just at the beginning of consulting. Actually, I got a big gig happening. I'm like, okay, went into the corporate world here in the U.S. and it was very interesting. And I used to do not, and at that time we had to wear suits. It was not casual rip jeans at that time. It was everybody were wearing suits from Monday through Friday. Then they came and broke down and said, well, Friday could be casual when it turned out to be like, oh my God, seriously. It went to the extreme. But they had to redefine actually what casual means for some people. But I remember that because at the beginning of my career, and wasn't making a ton of money, and I was able to get some suits from that was the what do you call it? Oh, I forgot the name of it. The big garage sales we had with the American Cancer Society and here, and I had some wonderful suits, brand new suits. They were like $200-300 for like $25, $50. So I was able to get a wardrobe. And I did altered those skirts. And I remember, and there was a person from the South actually. That was a contractor that was working on the same floor where I was. And people never saw me in skirts. I like to wear my pants. You know, I don't need to show my legs. I have long legs, but I don't need to show them if I don't feel like it. Well, I decided to wear my skirts, and this is where trouble started. And the skirt was just above the knees. So it's telling you it wasn't a mini skirt either. But somehow you got a line of what I call pigs that were on the opposite side where I was sitting and watching my legs. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? And we're all men. And I'm talking 5 to 6 people standing behind a partition staring. And I'm like, oh boy, never see a pair of legs, people. That's not bad. That's sad. So that wasn't the issue on this one. It was one gentleman from down south who did not understood. No is no. And the guy was coming on to me for some unknown reason. I'm like, what do you want? I don't work with you. And I was just letting him know very politely, it's a no. He wasn't like, oh, it's a no. No. I was extremely firm, like, no. And I got enough of that. And the person I was talking to, he told me, he said, well, you know, some of those guys think a no is a yes, and they're not stopping. And I say, yes, I know, I'm feeling harassed right now. So one day I barged into that cubicle, and I basically acted like a psycho, literally. Like a demented, possessed person for 5 minutes. He got the message after that. But I found it quite interesting when you're saying no to people. They still don't listen to you. They don't hearing you. No, until you explode. Until you had a burst of some kind, and it can happen in the office or it can happen at home. And I've seen it here where I'm at, actually, when I'm looking at nonprofit, and I'm looking at every company, because I worked for multi-billion-dollar company, $2 million company, 2 barely make it companies. But it's very interesting when you got individuals who are not mindful of others, respecting spaces, and will do things because they're in their zone, in their psychosis, and they don't care about anything else than their own crazy missions. It's very difficult to deal with those individuals because they are delulu, literally. They don't see the bigger pictures. They think they're right. They think they're helping when they don't. They have to put their nose everywhere because they feel they're on a mission to save the world, where they're creating more chaos. Those are the people that really need what I would call it a reality check. I explained the story of the groupie where I walked for over 6 months on eggshell. block this individual. Still, Delulu still has not realized I blocked that individual, went and made a comment. It's difficult to connect with Emma. Well, you're not connecting with me because you're blocked from every social media I've got. You're blocked from everywhere. You cannot reach out to me at all. Via social media, you don't know what I'm doing. This is not your business. What I do in my life is my business. But I don't need a Delulu, psychotic, who is not even mechanically inclined, continue to do things that are totally crazy. But she's still doing it. It doesn't stop her. And the cause and the problem is people above that should interfere don't. Or they want a big power. And you're like, no, because I'm going to go and blow up a gasket. So no, I do not want to be in a physical space with this individual because I'm going to be triggered. And they're like, well, we need to resolve it. No, there is nothing to resolve. There is a way to do and create a process that could resolve this issue. The problem is you like the chaos, you like the messy, and they need to be order to the chaos. In order to function properly, we need some of the processes. It doesn't matter if you volunteer. It doesn't matter if you have a business or not. You need, even in your life, you need a couple of processes to, I get up in the morning and what? Well, I got to feed the pups. I have to feed myself. We need to do the work because there is things that I do for them that's part of their routine. I'm not changing my routine. Even the last person that I know that was close to me, say, oh wow, it's nice to see you do a routine. I'm looking at that person and I say, yes, I do have a routine with the dogs because they need a routine. They don't work on chaos. Those dogs has been through hell when they were kids. They have been with me, one for 2 years. The other 2 have been with me for 5 years. Yes, I'm bringing order to their chaos and I'm going to bring their routine. It doesn't matter if when I was at my place, and that would be, by the time you're listening to this, would be October, so it would be a year ago, when prior to the fire, yes, we had a routine to go to the baseball field at 4 o'clock in the morning, play for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to get them tired. That was my job to do that. That's my job, to make them tired so they can crash. Then we were doing walks 3 to 4 times a day. And I would take Daddy with me for the longest walk because I wanted her tired. And she loved the exercise. She is a machine. So that's kind of the things that when you set up processes, even for businesses, when you're looking at the processes, when you're looking at the boundaries, because processes are boundaries, this is what you're supposed to do, then you do it. You bring that, because not everybody is disciplined. You got individuals, like I say, completely delulu, who don't care. Some people, and that's the problem when you're looking at kids, how you got brought up. Ours was worse than jail. We were under very strict command from my parents. Yay. And that wasn't good, trust me. And fear was part of it too. But they were disciplined, and it was like being in freaking jail, and worse, being in hell at some level. But they were disciplined. They taught us the discipline, and we kept a discipline at some level. We can have fun. I love to have fun, but I have a discipline when I'm working. Some people cannot work remote because they're doing nothing and sitting and doing barely nothing. I like remote because that helps me to focus more and less distraction and less drama, because I do not want drama in my life. I have something else better to do than the drama. Drama is out of my life. Like I said, I took the trash out, and that's part of the trash. No drama here. We're drama free. I want the pups to be at peace. I don't need a chaotic world. We have been through a chaotic world, and I kept as normal than I could for all of them. So that's telling you something. But when you're looking at discipline, when you're looking at processes, when you're looking at boundaries, respect everybody else's boundaries. You don't have to agree with everybody, but you respect everybody else's space. You know, peace doesn't come by forcing your way into somebody else's life, by imposing your beliefs upon somebody else's. everyone see lives a different way. I talked about a series, and I don't remember because it didn't last one season, and that's too bad. I think I don't remember which channel did that, CBS, NBC, whatever. And I remember that series where there was an accident that happened, and the cops tell their story, their point of view. The victim tells their point of view. The EMTs, the witnesses. It was a very interesting, actually, show because it was a great show, but it was very interesting because you got the perspective of everyone and the view of everyone for the accident that happened. And I loved it because we all have a different view on life. Trying to tell somebody they're Delulu because their view is different than yours. No. Well, the story I talk about the Delulu over there is crossing the boundaries, by the way. But when you respect everybody else's boundaries and everybody have a different point of view, that point of view can help when we work together. And this is what I love, the agile style, is everybody has a different perspective. And you bring the perspective on the table. And maybe out of those perspectives, a seed is there. Then somebody is going to run with it and say, this is an idea. Let's see what we can do. It doesn't mean everybody is wrong on their ideas. But when you come in a place where I'm just going to bring my own perspective and take what you want, leave everything you don't need, but it helps to move forward one step forward. I have done that for when I was consulting with Thomson Reuters, and when I gave them my long groceries list at the end of what I saw what could be improved, blah, 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 they took it. And I said, you do whatever you want with it. I said, for me, it's not imposing any laws. It's just sharing what I see, what needs to be fixed or what could be fixed. And that was my perspective, my view. They took it, they run with it. Within 8 months, they took some of the stuff out, they used it, the rest they discarded, but they made it their own. It's like, think about a recipe. Like I have done, by the time you hear that, I have a hair on, okay, I'm moving the protection on my mic. I'm feeling a hair on that. I think it's one of the pups. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. When you have a recipe, like I'm making, by the time you're hearing that, I have baked a bunch of stuff for Noctions bakeries, and I did my death by chocolate zucchini. They call it zucchini bread. At this point, it's a zucchini cake, but they call it zucchini bread. I take the recipes and I elevate the recipes. I'm taking the base and I'm modifying it. That's the same thing when you work on projects. You can have a group of people sitting and sharing ideas, what work. And when you get an open mind when you're doing it, the flow of conversation is interesting when it's not a dictatorship. But when everybody comes together with an open mind, without anybody with a big fat ego in the middle telling you you're wrong, but listening and hearing each other, and you're like, okay, those are what we've got on the table. What can we do with that? And you came up with a different idea at the end on the way to process it, or to proceed, not to process it, but to proceed. It makes a huge difference. That's called working together. So think about a time in your life where you stood your ground, that is personal or, professional. That worked great because everybody were mindful. We'll talk about mindfulness on our next podcast because I feel like to say a lot about mindfulness. But think about it. Think about your processes. Think about your routine. Your routine is your process as well. This is what you do every morning. Like I used to say to my sister when I was living with my sister, they knew to do not talk to me until I got my breakfast. I said, I didn't want to hear. I will talk to the cats, but do not want the humans talk to me before I got my breakfast. You do not you do not interact with me. That's my rule. I like that rule actually because at least you can wake up very slowly, nicely. You don't need to be. I'm like, no. Leave me at peace. Let me wake up. Let me take the time to let my body waking up slowly. I do not feel to be a rush or whatever the deal is. So think about it. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Universe